Hello, welcome to the Confidence Stack Show. I'm your host, Rhonda Lynn. Today we are joined with Renee Garcia. Renee Garcia is casting director and owner of her own casting company located in Hollywood, California. It is called Renee Garcia Casting. For over 10 years, she has cast many films, television pilots, commercials, music videos, and more. She's worked with stars in her films names such as Danny Glover, Busy Phillips, Danny Trejo, Anne Margaret, Wayne Brady, Dolph Lundgren, Paul Sorvino, Michael Madsen, and more. She was casting director for an award-winning film on Amazon Prime and narrated by noted actor Keith David, Gina's Journey, The Search for William Grimes. Before she got her start in casting, she was the senior talent manager, and before that had a career working as an actress and a model. And you may have seen her in the original blockbuster hit, The Fast and the Furious. When Renee is not doing casting projects, she's on the set working as a producer, director, first assistant director, and second assistant director. So we're going to talk to her more about that. We're very interested in finding out all that good stuff about how does all that fit together. So welcome to the show, Renee. It's so nice to have you here. And
thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. First of all, how did you get your start as a actor and model, and then now casting?
Yeah, well, that story spans for at least 15 years that I've been in the industry, but I am that story. I was walking at an event and someone's like, they liked my look and are you an actress? And I was like, no, I was barely starting modeling then. And long story short, after the whole casting process and booking process, I ended up getting booked on a movie called The Fast and the Furious, which has been a huge franchise.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Showing up to set and then all of a sudden seeing, me here, sit right here, and then here comes Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in a then it kind of like hit me, that I was in this movie. And it was really because most actors don't get that these days, but I was automatically put into SAG. So I got my SAG, my union card right away for being in the movie without any prior. I never took any training. I never had any prior experience. I tend to live my life anyways, like an improv way and always winging things. And, I don't think before I speak, I just do. So, that's pretty much, even when I tell actors when they're auditioning for me, I tell them to stop acting. So, I took that same advice. I never had formal training, but I just, knew I'm very animated to begin with.
Right.
I just use what I naturally have inside of me as being an actor. So, and then after that, I was talent scouting. A lot of people that worked with me are like, you're so nice. You're so easy to work with. Do you know anybody else that's like you? So then I started referring other talent for other projects. So slowly, kind of being a talent scout. And then one day, a guy had a magazine and he's like, hey, can I have an interview with you? And 4 hours after the interview later, he had a talent management company and was like, hey, if you could, and I manage my own career. I got myself the Fast and the Furious. I didn't have an agent or a manager. I got myself on my own work. So then he was like, well, if you can get yourself your own work, do you think you can help other people get work? And I'm like, yeah. And then I was represented and I was submitting myself, and I went to an audition, and next to me was my talent I represented and myself auditioning for the part. Well, ending up, I got the call back. She didn't. And I just saw the look on her face. She was just like, just I felt really bad. She was talking really bad about herself, like, because I got the call back and she didn't. And so I had to sit and realize, I can't be my own talent's competition. So I had to make the decision on what gets me up out of bed. Is it being in front of the camera or helping people and being behind the camera? So I knew my best talents and the way my heart worked. I love helping people. I was studying to be a nurse before I got into the interview.
Okay, yeah, that's really a heart-centered.
Yeah, so I've been a natural like nurturer, always wanted to take care of people. So, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna quit and give up being a model and actor. And that wasn't really my dream per se. My dream as a kid when I was 8 years old was to work in the entertainment industry. I didn't know exactly where. I just knew I wanted to work in it because I just love the whole filmmaking process. And my parents took me to Universal Studios when I was 8 years old, and I'm like, wow, what is this world? And that was it. Boom. That's why I say, like, God instilled it in my heart, and ever since I was 8, I've been fighting to work in the entertainment industry and changing professions and, being able to experience and try different things. As being a filmmaker, even an actor, if you know every facet of it, that's the best way. Don't just know, okay, I'm an actor, I only know this part. Know the whole entire spectrum, the whole facet of what it is to make a movie, and not just be the actor or just the director, or just the producer. Take it in as a whole.
Right.
You
Okay.
know?
Okay. That'll explain when we get to all the
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. And then I was representing actors and I was booking them, and my heart started getting away from it. Like, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. I was booking so many actors on things, and they were just not grateful for it. And I was just like, why am I breaking my back for these actors who don't appreciate it? It's almost like they expected me to, instead of us being a team. It was like I was their slave horse, I guess. Get me work. And so yeah, and so for me, it wasn't. That's not where my heart was at, and as I've said, I can't stay somewhere where my heart is not at. That's not staying true to who I am. And then a producer gave me an opportunity. He worked for a production company, and he knew I was a talent manager. He's seen, I used to represent like 80 people, so it's a lot. And I had an eye for talent, and he saw that, and he was like, he was supposed to do the casting himself. He's like, I have a budget. I can hire a casting director. Why don't I just give you the opportunity? And that's how it was. Like, as an actor, I always give an opportunity. Every field I've done in the entertainment industry is because someone thought I was bright or they believed in me. And so you always have to be careful how you present yourself, I tell people, because you indirectly don't know, like, who you're inspiring or who's, who wants to have a meeting with you and then gives you an amazing opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had my whole career, but it's just because I never burned bridges. I try to be respectful as much as I can. Sometimes it's hard with Hollywood personalities, as we know. But I'm a really good person. I can adapt with all types of personalities.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you
So that was it. Actually, I started my casting company in 2006.
So yeah, it's been
that was it. Yeah, and I did it, and it was just so, like, natural. Even the producer was like, wow, you're so good at casting, like, this is amazing. Like, he discovered me.
Yeah.
Here it is that he found my abilities and talent. And so it just kind of went from there. For me, it was fulfilling, me being able to help people's dreams come true. I love directing actors. I'm not like a casting agent where you walk in the room and I'm like, next. I'm like, okay, that's good. You're there. You're almost close, but let's try it this way. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a reader. I actually want to look in the eyeballs of another actor. And because I used to be an actress, I'm acting opposite of them. And I've even had actresses who are like, wow, you're good. You should get the part.
That's perfect. That brings me to my next question. And that is that kind of walk us through a day in the life of, what a day is like at your studios.
Well, for me, I love what I do because every project is different. Every time a script is put in my hand, every experience is completely different variables, different things. So I can't really, like, specifically say this is exactly how it is all the time, because it's not. It's always different. Sometimes there's like a rush casting and I'm like, it's Friday and they want it booked by Monday and I'm like, screaming. Or for me, my favorite and my forte, I like to say, is casting films. I just love the whole process of a whole film coming to life from beginning and with the script coming in my lap and and the director and the producers saying, this is how we want the lead character, or X, Y, and Z. And when they're so satisfied at the end, like, yes, that's the person. It's such a neat feeling to like make a script come to life. And that's the thing that I do is, I want the director or the producers to be so specific. Like, I want her to have red hair with blue eyes and a mole right here, which I've gotten that request before. My war film, the director's like, I want the lead character to be Obama-esque, you know, kind of like, and you should see the guy. He played him for Halloween, Obama, you know, so.
They got it.
So I got it. So, you know, I like the challenges. It is challenging. You know, I've had to find a 5-year-old Syrian boy who could cry on camera that's dying in a death scene. You know, my auditions, I've had actors that are like, why do you pick such hard material? And it's like, because like, you're going to go on lunch break and come back, and it's going to be the scene where your best friend just died. Now you think you're going to die in action.
That's true. That's really what happens.
And we want to get it on the first take. We hired you because you better have your lines memorized. I've seen so many actors on set who don't have their lines memorized. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's really key, isn't it?
Yeah. And God rest Paul Walker's soul. I love him to pieces. Nicest guy in the world, but man, he can never get his lines right. Furious. And he would hold up the whole set. And it's like, we're already 12 hours in and we got to be up at 6 a.m. the next day. And he's like, sorry, guys. Sorry. I keep messing up my lines. We're like, do it, make fun of him. Okay, guys, we could go home as soon as Paul gets his lines right. That he should. So, I mean, you could still have fun with it in that essence, you know. But
no, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Because sometimes, or the director wants something different. But yeah, the majority of it is that you got to have your lines right, and then you can, you know, do your 100 takes.
Yeah, and I recommend that too for auditions. Like, I mean, I tell actors you don't get extra points for memorizing, but in all honesty, if you're I've seen actors that like are too busy worrying about the lines instead of their performance. So they're glued with the side, you know, sides, and I'm like, hello, you know.
Yeah, you want the camera to see you. Yeah.
Yeah, it opens you up more when you know the lines, or at least if you know how to cold read, you know, you can at least talk with your hands and hold the script and so.
So on average, about how many people do you end up calling in for a role or a part?
It depends. When I have celebrities attached to projects, I get over 2,000 plus submissions just on one casting platform for that role. And I have to go through all the submissions. And I go through it. I don't have my casting assistants or associates do it. I've had them do it before, and they picked all like the wrong people. And I'm like, that's not the character.
You like to make sure that your hands are on it, huh?
Well, there's only a certain number of spots, like what you said. I mean, I can see anywhere up to 80 people for that same role in one day, or if not more. I can blow through 80 people real fast one day. My casting associate's like, you make it look so easy. How do you go and audition that many actors that fast with the same line over and over? I'm like, it's just
that's really good. Yeah.
It's just what I do, you know. And the ones that stand out are the ones that I perk up and I get into it, and my acting starts getting into it even more, you know.
So what do you think makes someone perk up? Is it the energy, or just that they, you know, their personality, or what is it that?
All of the above.
Okay, yeah. So personality, energy, they come in excited and they're ready to.
I tell actor, I don't care what it is, a theater play, whatever, a commercial making $50. Walk in there like you are so happy to be there and you want to be attached to that project because it shines. Like, oh, wow, this is such an exciting project. I love this character. I can relate to this character. Oh, really? How can you relate to the character? Well, whatever. Yeah. You know? And it makes it more interesting versus you coming in like a robot zombie. Okay, I'm ready.
Right.
Oh, my performance, you're like, okay, that's great, you know, but, you know, for me, the most interesting actors are people who have hobbies and are something outside of just acting, you know, and that's something that's really important. I'll ask actors like, oh, what's your hobby? And they're like, oh, acting. I'm like, okay, that's great, but what else, you know? And another actor's like, oh, I used to be like Harrison Ford. Oh, I used to be a carpenter. what? You were a carpenter? Really? Like, what did you make? Doors, like tables, chairs, then it makes us interested in you.
Right.
When you have something interesting versus, oh no, acting is my life. That's it. All I do is acting.
Yeah. Well, they
Boring.
have other extra skills and things, so that's important.
Yeah, because they're going to have to do interviews. It's not just I get the movie and that. For me, I mean, I do so many interviews and I'm a casting director.
Yeah, yeah.
So many entertainment packages for when you play the role. How was it to play the film? And if you don't have anything substance other than acting, you're not going to really bring anything to offer. You're not going to make yourself interesting.
Yeah. So what is it, what one thing do you wish that all actors knew about casting?
Just the proper protocol when you come into audition, like just keeping it professional, like short but sweet, I guess you can say.
Uh-huh.
I love when actors they want to hang out after and like give me more information, but sometimes they just kind of like drag along, and they're if we say thanks, bye, you can say like one more thing, but like don't drag out the time, because now you're just taking up the time for the next actor who's going to come in.
Yeah.
But when you're in the room, I tell actors, take as much time as you need, But my favorite one I like to tell actors, now that I'm thinking about it, this is my favorite one. Never say you're sorry in an audition room. Never, ever, ever. So if you're in the middle and you forget your lines, you mess up and you go, oh, sorry, then it ruins your self-confidence. It makes it like you have to be perfect. You're allowed to make mistakes. Or like people go, or they start cursing, after they mess up, or blah, 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 weird faces or noises. It's like, you mess up, just be like, oh, I messed up. Can I try that over again from the top? Sure. Okay, great. Because actors try to cut themselves, and we're recording. We want to cut you. You don't cut us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it. Don't say you're sorry. You're allowed to make mistakes. It ruins your self-confidence. It makes you feel like you're supposed to be perfect or you're not perfect. It messes with the psyche when you're auditioning. So don't ever say you're sorry. There's no reason to. Then you make us feel weird, like we did something wrong,
Thank you for that. That's perfect advice. I appreciate that. I have had coaches say that, and that it's important to listen to that. So
it's a tough habit to break, but it's most definitely, you should walk into, I help train actors too about like auditioning techniques, and I have them like walk in and out of a door, like get the whole feeling. Don't just walk in a room. No, open the door, come in. How would you put your stuff down? Just everything, like just being respectful to the environment.
Sure. Cool. Now, before we close, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about being a producer, a director, a first assistant director, a second assistant director. Like, can you give us kind of a snapshot of all of the roles? And, you can take your time, but I was just saying, give us a little bit of, because, definitely it's very different from being a casting director. And like the producer has to kind of put everything together, and the director directs. But what is this? Tell us what all. And the first assistant and the second assistant, I really don't know what they do.
Yes, well, I'll first tell what each of them do, and then I'll tell you how I fell into each of them. So producing is kind of not that odd for a casting director to be a producer. A lot of times we'll come into a project early before like financing is available, and we'll bring in a star name attached, which I worked with Danny Glover, I booked Michael Madsen twice because him and I became best friends when I was working on set. So I was like, I'll look out for you for another film. So that you kind of fall into that. And a lot of times, like for me, when I'm so passionate about a project, I want to help in every way possible. So I know so many crew members. I'll help crew get hired. Hey, I need this crew member. I know someone. So I'm not just doing the casting. I'm helping on other ends. Like need our tag paperwork. Where I know an associate producer that can get it all done for you. So I'm really like putting puzzle pieces together and filling in the blanks. So that's kind of where that came about. Or not necessarily me finding financing. I've done that before, but I try not to go in that area. It's more of like the creative end of producing and helping with little areas, because I come in pretty early as a casting director before any other crew members. So it kind of comes up where the producers are like, hey, do you know someone? Or hey, do you know this or that? And I'm like, I know someone. And that's kind of like, so that, there's many different types of producers. There's, roles. So each of them are different. The executive producer is usually like the investor, the one that finances it. And then regular producers are the ones that put everything together. And then I'll go by different levels. So a second assistant director, I fell into that because, again, the director works with me in the very beginning. Hey, do you know any crew members? And I'm like, for a first AD or second AD, which is first assistant director, second assistant director. And I'm like, well, I'm one. And they're like, you are? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I want you, because they want a familiar face, a friendly face. They already know, my work ethics and my personality from them working with me in casting. So when it comes time to going to set, they want to see my friendly face and they know, I'm going to get stuff done. But a second AD, second assistant director mainly handles the talent.
Okay.
So their job, which casting director, and
makes sense.
Actors love it because they already been with me to the callbacks. I booked them. So when they see me on set, they're like, oh, Renee, so they're happy to see me because they know I'll take care of them. I'm the casting director. I care about talent. So, yeah. And then that person like walks the celebrities to their mark. Like when I put Michael Madsen on set, I was his right-hand person. Do you need this? Do you need that? On the walkie, Renee, bring them to their mark. I got to walk them to set. Where are they at? They're in the bathroom. I can't find them.
And we're walking.
Yeah, that's what I say. And we're walking. So yeah, and they take care of the extras, make sure there's water, the studio teacher. So it's a lot of work, just making sure the talent, because the talent's just sitting there bored. So I'm there to talk to them. I'm, there on the mark, and then paperwork, if it's a union set, making sure they're filling out the paperwork, sometimes call sheets, getting the talent. So it's mostly like talent coordinating, I would say, as a second assistant director, dealing with the talent. First assistant director is obviously the right-hand person to the director, but mostly their job is to manage the whole entire set. So it's like the time management. Like as a first assistant director, I can even yell at the director. Because it's a union set. We have to go to lunch at 2:30 and not a minute later, we're going to get fined. And I don't care that you want this last shot. This is it. You get one shot and that's it. I'm calling it. So it's basically the time manager, I call it, on set. You're the last person to eat, the last person to sleep. I literally lose 20 pounds and I'm on set and no sleep. I literally get 2 hours of sleep.
Wow.
I make the call sheets and the shot lists, and you're the last one on set, making sure everything's cleaned up or whatever it may be. So pretty much like a manager. And I've been really fortunate, again, getting a first AD job, because the directors I work with are like, hey, do you know any first ADs? And I'm like, I'm one. And they're like, I want you.
Yeah. Oh, good for you.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate with a lot of projects that I've, as a first assistant director on, the directors have asked me, are you a first AD that wants to be a director or a first AD who just wants to manage the set? Because there's two different types. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm the directing. I don't want to, be behind the camera. So I've been fortunate to for them to be like, hey, do the second unit for me.
Okay, yeah.
And me handle all the crew myself. Even all male crew myself, calling action and cut and knowing, the shots and everything. So, and I fell into directing because the film I was casting, they had a director and the director fell out last minute, and the producers freaking out. And he was there during the callbacks, and he heard a lot of the actors saying wow, you should be a director, because the way when I'm I'm a true casting director because I direct actors. And even when I'm recording their auditions, it's okay, close-up shot, everything's done I'm shooting a film. Mm-hmm. So I kind of fell into that, and I have some videos on my YouTube channel. People are like, that was your first time you were directing? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're so natural at it. And that's what it was for me. As soon as I stepped in the director's chair, out of any modeling, acting, casting, everything, directing for me is probably one of the most natural things. I've been a storyteller my whole life. I've been watching movies with my family. We're obsessed with films my whole life. So it's like, I've never watched a movie like, I guess you could say normal people do, and I still don't to this day.
Do you pick it apart?
Yes, but sometimes there'll be really great movies where I actually am so into it, I transform into a spectator and I don't watch it like that. And that's, for me, that's what I'm like, that's a great film. If you can pull that from me, that's like amazing for me to be a spectator. And so that's how I shoot too. Like as a director, my style is never make the audience feel like they're dumb, and show respect for them for their time. So that, even on my last film I did, I wasn't the director, I was the first assistant director. And the director was like shooting it was the main suspense, the whole plot. And he was like, okay, that's cut. And we watched the shot and I was like, can I take a try at this? And he's like, yeah, what do you want to do? And I said, this is the main thing. You don't want the audience to feel dumb. Like they spent their whole time. This is like the big climax of the movie. We got to make it more dramatic. So then I said, and I told him, let's do this X, Y, and Z. And then we shot it. And then it won Best Suspense Film.
Oh, good.
So, and then for my director's reel, he gave me a copy of that scene because he knew hands down I directed and I, everything for that shot. And he's like, yeah, you can put it on your reel, because he knew.
That's great.
He knew I directed that part. So.
You're able to see the big picture and everything.
Yeah.
All the moving parts, huh?
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm still casting. I'm a casting director still. That's, everyone knows me in my industry. I'm always going to be a casting director, but a couple of times a year, I just want to direct a film. It makes me happy to, be a storyteller. And I've got a film coming up that I helped write also called Immigrant Mother.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell the true story about, what it is to be a migrant and all those things. So I'm really excited with that.
Oh, good.
And how I'm going to shoot it, very cinematic. And I'm going to put it out to some film festivals, and hopefully we can
see what happens. Yeah, that sounds exciting. Oh, good, Renee. That's awesome. Well, definitely you're very diversified, and that's wonderful. You're very talented, and so it's very helpful to have all that knowledge base and skills in this industry, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it just, people are like, Renee, why don't you just pick one thing? And it's like, why do you have to? Like, I love actors who are like producers and doing something else on the other side. Like, why? You don't have to just be one thing. Like, that's boring.
Yeah. And as we know,
and spread your talent out,
Yeah. And as we know, most actors, you really want to create your own content, and that's how you're going to, get IMDb credits and different things at some point. So,
yeah, exactly. And then plus
you can't always wait for someone to discover you.
Yes. And plus like what kind of personality you have, or how you want to represent yourself, or how you want to be as an actor. And sometimes you're not going to get that opportunity to play those parts of those roles. So why don't you create it yourself,
Good idea. Good idea. Good. Now, being as busy as you are and all those hats you wear, is there a favorite phone app that you use that makes your life easier or helps keep you organized?
I don't really have how about I just say I like playing Heyday.
All right.
I play little phone. I've been a gamer my whole life. I love video games and stuff like that. So that's always been like an escape for me. So when I'm on set, like things get like really, really chaotic, and you can tend to almost want to cry.
Yeah.
I always take a nice little walk, and then I'll go on my phone and like play my Heyday, and get your mind off of whatever it is, and then you come back like refreshed, and you're like, oh, the emotion's gone. So I think for me it's just a little brain game to get have something fun and enjoyable and tick around with.
Mm-hmm.
standoff.
It helps you manage your mind, huh?
Yes, my sanity.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I appreciate all the wonderful advice that you shared with us. It's super insightful, and definitely would love to talk to you again because it was so much fun getting to know all that information. But to my audience, thanks for being here today. Be sure and join us for the next Confident Stack show, and we will see you on the next show.